Guys, I've been an entrepreneur since ninth grade in high school, and I've been a real estate investor since 2006. And through all that time, I've never had a job. I've never borrowed money from a stinky banker or put anything on a credit card. I just use creativity, imagination, and that's what I teach at myrealestatedojo.com. Today's session is for the landlords. Why is it important to have all your rental properties in the same zip code? Okay. It's very, very crucial. And I'll explain it by a story where I learned big time, not only in time, money lost. Okay. Personally, back in the days when I started investing in real estate in 2006, I started buying properties wherever I find a good deal, right? So if a motivated seller called me and they had a beautiful home, a newer home, it wasn't behind in payments, it didn't need repairs, it had equity, then, and they were willing to just let me step into their shoes and take over their mortgage, then I would buy the property. I wouldn't really think about like, hey, is this a good area that, I always looked at the area that you needed to be like good school systems, good area, not a war zone, because if I didn't want to live in the property, I wouldn't want to buy it, right? Because I like properties that appreciate, but I don't buy it for appreciation. I buy it for cash flow. But I always thought, do I want to live there? I'm not an investor that does, war zones. So when I always looked at a property, if the numbers made sense, if the property made sense and it was in a good area, good school system, there's a lot of jobs, I would pull on the trigger and buy the property. And this led me to a very, very costly mistake. Let me give you an example. I bought this house for my sister in Sanger, Texas. And I lived at that time in Coppell/Valley Ranch area in Texas. And Denton was like an hour away. And Sanger, Texas was like an hour and 15 minutes away, an hour and 30 minutes, depends if you got traffic or not. And this motivated seller, Larry, he called me. He had a beautiful home. It was just built like 3 years old. He rode motorcycles and he had got into a car wreck and had hurt his leg and he couldn't work or walk or anything like that anymore. I think they amputated his leg. It's been a while, so I don't remember all the fine details. But I said, you know what? I can help you out. I'll pay for your move. I'll buy your property and start making the payments. And the reason I bought this property is because I mixed my feelings with my emotions. What do I mean by that? Well, I was thinking that my sister, she's going to go to UNT, and instead of doing what I did, which is like rent and, move around every so often, why don't I just groom her? Why don't I teach her about being a landlord? Why don't I, groom her? Because my idea was that was a 4-bedroom house. She could live in one of the rooms and she could rent out the other 3 rooms and then have everybody pay her. So she learns about how to like find renters, how to get the cash, how to, pay the mortgage, and just groom her so she can become a real estate investor, even if that's not the career she wanted to choose. At the same time, she could live totally for free and she doesn't have to pay rent. At the same time, this will be her property when she graduates. I'll deed her the property, and and she could officially own it and have a forced savings of hundreds of thousands of dollars plus a asset that's worth a couple of $100,000. So anyways, my sister was still in high school. She still had like 3-4 more years to go. And so what I did is I babysat this property, and it was very far away, like an hour and 15 minutes, hour and 30 minutes, depends on which way you took and how the traffic was. One way. And the only reason I bought this property again is because I mixed my emotions in business. I said, this is for my sister. I'm going to help her make a lot of money. I'm going to train her, and I'm going to take her under my wings. And so anyways, guys, this property was very far away. All my other properties were in Dallas, and then I got wise to just buying one zip code, which was Grand Prairie, okay? Then I started buying all my properties in Grand Prairie because of this one property. And the reason is because that property literally killed me. Every time, I had to do, a vacancy, I had to literally like drive out there, hour and 15 minutes, hour and 30 minutes, meet up with the renter. Sometimes they wouldn't show up. Sometimes they would. Sometimes, they weren't interested. Sometimes they didn't qualify. Sometimes they had evictions they didn't tell me. All this good jazz, right? But I would drive all the way out there and come back. And it was just like the pain in the butt, dude, right? To rent the sucker out. Or when I had a vacancy, if I had to go meet the carpet washer, or if I had to go meet the contractor, or if I had to go meet the AC guy, because in Texas, the weather is extremely hot. So you got AC work all the time, right? So I had to like literally drive 3 hours back and forth, and I realized that, man, this is why it's so important for landlords to buy in one specific zip code. So let me dive into it so I can explain to you. The number one reason why I highly recommend for real estate investors and landlords to buy in one specific zip code is rent control, ethically. For example, if I own, let's say, 6 properties in this one zip code, and my houses are right next to each other, then literally I can jack up the rent slowly but surely, higher than outside of the zip code. And if the realtor does a CMA, it will justify the price because all the other properties in that zip code are asking the same exact price. And this is one of the reasons I like buying one zip code. Number one is rent control. Okay, I'm able literally to control the rents and charge higher because I have multiple properties. And if a realtor or if a home renter shops around, they'll see that, hey, yes, this is justified. It's not like I'm overcharging because the property down the street that I own is exactly the same price. Okay. The other reason I like buying all the rental properties in one exact zip code is because of vacancy and showings. Like, for example, if let's say I live, 5 minutes away from that area or 30 minutes away, right? And then I have 2 vacancies. Well, when someone calls me, I can literally just jump out there and meet them. Or better yet, I can have my real estate agent jump out there and meet them. And it's not a big hassle for them, where if my property was in Sanger, Texas, it would be a really pain in the butt for them to drive all the way out there and all the way back, because I don't want to do it. So realtors probably are not going to want to do it either, right? So having the properties all in one zip code close to each other is very good for showing and vacancies on top of the rent control. Now, number 3 is very, very important. Okay, they're all important. Maintenance and repairs. For example, when I use service providers, I usually get a deep discount because I have multiple properties. I negotiate that. But some service providers would not travel from, let's say, Grand Prairie, Texas, another 2 hours to my Sanger property that was passed in Texas to go work on that. And that would kill me because I had a relationship with these service providers. I was able to get a discount. I knew the quality of work that they did was worth it, okay? Where for my Sanger property, I was always at the mercy of a new service provider. They usually just charge fair market value. I had no idea of their experience. And, and a lot of times it was a dud, dude. And I had to like redo it and rehire. And that's the thing. When you build relationships with service providers, you know exactly the quality of work they do. And if you're satisfied with that, you kind of get the same thing over and over. So you get that reliability of like, hey, I'm going to a Subway and I know exactly what I'm getting, right? I'm going to McDonald's, I'm getting exactly what I'm getting, okay? Versus some random Joe where you're like, oh, I don't know, you're scared, you got fear, you're like, oh, I don't know if I should eat there. Am I going to get food poisoning? Is it going to be nasty? I still got to pay for it. It's like you have that fear. And it might be just psychological, right? It probably is. But the chance of it not working out are still great, okay? So when it comes to repairs and maintenance, like when someone moves out, it's very easy for me to give them access to my property, okay? If I'm living close, right? Better yet, you want to have a lockbox, but some things you still want to meet those service providers to check their work. You want to meet them before you let them in, you know what I mean? So when I compared it to that Sanger property, oh my God, I had to drive like 3 hours that way. It was like a whole day event, dude, just to go meet the AC guy or meet the carpet cleaner or meet the house cleaner or meet the painter or whatever the story might be, okay? Now, the other reason I like to buy all the properties, and I suggest that real estate investors, especially landlords, buy most of the properties in one zip code, is because of evictions, okay? When I did evictions in Grand Prairie, I kind of almost knew the judges in a sense, right? Because there's so many judges there and you go over and over, you get to know them, you understand what judge is landlord friendly, what judge is tenant friendly, you understand their policy and it becomes like, like you don't know them, but you go there so much, whatever, you kind of not know them, you know how the customary reality is. But property in Sanger, man, it was a pain in the butt, right? Like it was freaking far. And, to do the evictions, not only didn't want to do it, my property manager didn't want to drive out there to do it. And the lawyers hardly wanted to drive out there to do it, dude. And so you know, when you have a relationship with these lawyers and they do your eviction, you're getting a discount. But you think you're going to give you a discount when they got to drive 2 hours from downtown Dallas to Sanger and back, and it's going to be like 4-hour trip for them? No, dude, you got to pay for it. So my only solution was to find lawyers that were in this little small town, dude, of like town that didn't even have like 5 lights, right? But it was a growing area, right by the universities. And basically when I rent that property out, I was just lending it to the PhD professors that were teachers at UNT, you know. So it was a very good property, you know, in a sense, if you didn't want to chop it up. But my idea for my sister was for her to chop it up to make maximum money. But, you know, end of the day, guys, you know, I'll get into that in a second. But another reason why I like, you know, when I've touched on this already, buying all the properties in the same area is because the relationship that I can build with the service providers and the discount that I get because I have multiple units, and also the discount that I get is close to each other. You know, for example, you have a pool guy, he doesn't want to drive from one property point A and the other property is 50 miles to point B. He's not going to give you a good discount. But if you have one property at point A, the next property point B is like less than a mile away from each other, and the third property you have is 0.6 miles away, well, dude, he's going to give you a smoking deal because for him it's a route. He's going from point A, point B, point 3. So you're getting a smoking deal, he's getting a smoking deal. So it's a win-win. Where if one is here and the other one's in BFE, see, and that happens with the AC guys, that happens with the plumbing guys, that happens with the contractors. They're going to do your painting. So because I had these relationships with these people, and no one wants to drive fucking 3 hours, man. You know what I mean? And yet it was a great deal, you know. And I'll get into that. Okay. The other thing I like about owning the properties in the same exact zip codes, right, is because, you know, what I call the feel good. You know, there's days that I get up, you know, maybe I'm not feeling that great, right? Even though it's a beautiful day, God has made this for me. Sometimes I don't feel good. I'm too sore and I'm grumpy, or I'm thinking about something I shouldn't be thinking about, right? And it brings me a little down, right? And I love just to drive in my car, have the top down, and just go look at my rental properties, the A, B, C, D. They're right next to each other, right? And maybe I drive by and I see, you know, a family of kids playing outside, and I feel good because I'm the one that's able to provide them a shelter for them, or see the neighbors. So it was like what I call a good feeling. But I would never drive to fucking Sanger. By the time I got to that Sanger property, I was like, damn, dude, damn, this sucks, dude. Because once you made one trip, it might be fun, 2 trips, but when you made like 100 trips to freaking Sanger throughout the 7 years, 8 years of ownership, you know, you kind of get tired of it real quick. Okay, so the point of the story is those properties that are closer to each other, closer to you, you can drive it on a bad rainy day and make yourself feel good that you're doing something good. Okay, and the other thing I want to talk about is the benefit of having the properties right next to each other. You get to learn the neighbors, right? You know, like you got a property here, then 4 or 5 houses down, you got another property there, and you know, maybe a couple of streets over, you got a property there. So you get, because you're driving the area to feel good, you know, it's close by, so you're able to drive it more. You're able to get to learn the neighbors and get to meet the neighbors, and the neighbors are very, very helpful. They'll let you know, like, if someone's breaking in your property. They'll let you know when the renters have left, but they haven't told you, right? Like, oh shit, man, I think they came in with their vans and moving trucks and moved all their shit out, dude. So it's good to have that relationship. Well, do you think I had a relationship with the Sanger neighbors? Absolutely not. By the time I drove all the way out there in traffic, by the time I got there, I wasn't really too happy to talk to anyone. I just wanted to run in there and get my shit done and run out, right? Where a property that may only take me 3 minutes to get to, right? I'm feeling good. And the neighbors, how you doing, sir? Man, your lawn looks beautiful, man. You know, and like you're talking and making a relationship. But when you're sitting in traffic for a fucking hour and a half, guess what? You know, usually my old self, I wouldn't be too happy, right? But today, that's why I don't even have a car, because I don't like traffic. I'm riding it and I feel good all the time. So I hope this helps you out. This is my personal experience. This is not financial advice, but for my own sake, having all my rental properties in one exact area was super beneficial. Not only was I able to get maximum rent and have rent control ethically, I was able to have easier showings and easier vacancies. I was able to learn about the eviction court system a lot easier because I would go to the same exact courthouse. I would have better relationship with my service providers, which meant that I would get better deals, bigger savings. It had the good feeling to it where I can just drive to these properties and check them out. And last but not least, meet all the neighbors where they were like my little spies to help me out. You know what I'm saying? And for like Thanksgiving or Christmas, you know, I'll send them some bacon or send them some gifts, you know what I mean? Because, dude, they're a valuable asset to your business, right? Anyways, guys, thank you for clicking the like button. Don't take no for an answer. Always remember, you're braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, smarter than you think, and twice as beautiful as you ever imagined. Roll me. Peace, guys.